Evelyn Parker stepped off the bus with a slow breath, trying to steady the storm inside her. The morning air in Vermont felt colder than she expected, sharp against her cheeks. Almost as if the place itself wanted her to stay awake, stay alert, stay ready. She had promised herself she would not let old emotions ruin her mission. She came here with one goal, to make her father understand how deeply he had hurt her. Not by shouting, not by arguing, but by giving him the same distance he had given her all her life. Silence, coldness, unspoken walls. That was her plan. Her quiet punishment, but the moment she looked up from her suitcase, she saw a man walking toward her, tall and composed, wearing a navy jacket and carrying a calmness she didn't expect. He wasn't her father. He wasn't even close. Her father had always moved fast, talked fast, lived fast, like someone who didn't want to slow down long enough for anyone to catch up to him. This man moved differently. "Evelyn?" he asked, stopping in front of her. She nodded, surprised that he recognized her so easily. "I'm Daniel Hayes," he said. "Your father's friend. He asked me to pick you up. He got stuck on a last-minute call." Of course he did. Her father, Richard Parker, was always on a call, always busy, always somewhere else in his mind, even when his body was in the room. Evelyn swallowed the familiar disappointment. Daniel must have noticed the flicker on her face, because his voice softened. He really wanted to be here. He talked about today all week. She didn't respond. Words felt too heavy. Daniel didn't push her. He simply took her suitcase, nodding toward his truck parked near the entrance. The ride to the lakeside house was quiet but not awkward. Trees stretched along the winding road, their green leaves brushing against the sky. The lake shimmered in the distance like a sheet of glass. Evelyn had imagined arriving here angry, ready to keep her heart sealed. But Daniel's calm presence made her feel strangely grounded. She didn't want that. She didn't want anyone softening her plan. When they reached the house, Daniel opened the door for her. She stepped inside and saw the familiar wood-paneled walls, the large windows facing the lake, and the shelves filled with books no one had touched in years. This used to be her childhood escape. Summers here were the only time she felt her father tried before business grew bigger. Before schedule swallowed him, now the place looked the same. Yet everything inside her felt different. Daniel placed her suitcase by the door. "He'll be here soon," he said. "He's been talking about wanting to fix things." Evelyn turned away, pretending to admire the view from the window. She didn't want to hear that. If her father wanted to fix things, he would have shown up himself. He says a lot. She replied, "Maybe," Daniel said gently, but this time felt different. "But I won't convince you. I'm just telling you what I saw." She didn't respond, and he didn't linger. After offering her a small smile, he stepped outside to make a phone call. Giving her space, Evelyn explored the living room, brushing her fingers over the old photographs. There she was at 10 years old, holding a fishing pole next to her father. They were both smiling. The picture made her chest tighten. It was easy to look at that memory and believe things had been good. But that picture didn't show the moment after the photo, her father stepping away to take a business call. Leaving her waiting by the lake for hours, she moved to the kitchen, trying to wash away the memory with a glass of water. But the house kept reminding her of moments she had buried for years, birthdays he missed, recitals he forgot. The graduation ceremony where she walked across the stage and realized the empty seat in the back row belonged to him. She had come here to make him feel all of that, to show him what absence really felt like. The front door opened. Her father's voice filled the space. "Eve, you're here." She turned slowly. Richard Parker stood there, slightly out of breath, tied crooked suit jacket over his arm. He looked older than she remembered, less polished, more human. He stepped closer for a hug, but she hesitated for a second before allowing him to wrap his arms around her. The hug felt quick, rushed, like he was afraid of being late to something else. "I'm so glad you came," he said. "Yeah," she replied, her tone cool. That was the beginning of the punishment short answers. Small distance, no expression. She wanted him to feel the emptiness she had swallowed for years. Her father noticed but didn't comment. Maybe he expected this. Maybe he felt he deserved it. She didn't know. Daniel re-entered the house carrying some groceries. "Thought we'd make dinner," he said. "Something simple." Richard looked relieved for the distraction. "Good idea." Evelyn watched the two men move around the kitchen like they had done it before. They worked easily together, like a team. It felt strange to see someone else so close to her father when she herself had never felt close. She sat at the counter, arms crossed, observing quietly. Her father kept glancing at her, unsure of what to say. Daniel noticed the awkwardness and tried to lighten the atmosphere with small comments about the town, the lake, the stores nearby. Evelyn responded politely, but kept her tone distant. She didn't want him to pull her into comfort. She needed the tension. It was the only thing that made her plan feel real. When dinner was ready, they all sat at the table. The meal tasted good, but silence tasted stronger. Her father finally cleared his throat. "I know things haven't been perfect," he began. She held her fork tighter. Here it was the apology, the excuse, the speech she had heard many times before. "I just hope this week helps us reconnect," he added. She nodded without giving him anything real. Her father seemed unsure, searching her face for some clue that she had softened. She didn't. Not yet. That was the point. After dinner, her father went to his office to finish a call. Evelyn went to her room and sat on the edge of the bed, feeling the weight of everything she had held for years. She thought punishing him would feel empowering. But instead, it felt confusing, almost exhausting. Like carrying a heavy stone on her back. Unable to stay still, she left her room and walked down the hallway. That's when she heard voices from the living room. She paused before turning the corner. Her father's voice was low. "I don't know how to talk to her, Dan. I messed up too many times." Daniel responded quietly. "You can start by being here." "Really being here? I'm afraid it's too late." Evelyn felt something shift in her chest. Her father's voice wasn't defensive or annoyed, was tired, almost afraid. She never imagined him sounding like that. She never imagined he carried guilt heavy enough to crack his voice. "She deserves better than what I gave her," Richard said. The words hit her harder than she expected. She had always believed he didn't care. Hearing the truth made her anger lose its clarity. She stepped back quietly before they noticed her, her thoughts spinning. For the first time since she arrived, she didn't know what her next move should be. Her plan felt shaky. Her certainty felt blurred. Later that night, she stepped outside for air. She expected to be alone, but Daniel was on the porch, sitting on the steps with a notebook in his hand. He looked up as she walked out. "Couldn't sleep?" he asked. "Not really." He closed his notebook. "It's a lot to process." She sat beside him, not sure why. Maybe because he was the only steady thing in a place full of broken memories. "You heard us talking," said softly, not accusing, just stating. She looked down. "Maybe." Daniel nodded. "He cares more than you think. That doesn't erase anything." "No, it doesn't," Daniel agreed. "But it can be a start." His voice was calm, not pushing her. He didn't try to tell her how to feel. He simply acknowledged the truth she wasn't ready to face. They watched the lake reflecting the moonlight, neither speaking for a long time. The stillness of the night wrapped around them. Something about Daniel's presence felt strangely comforting. Like he understood things she hadn't even said. When she finally stood up to go inside, Daniel's voice stopped her for a moment. "Don't lose yourself while trying to punish him," he said gently. She didn't respond. But the words stayed with her long after she went to her room. She had come here with a clear plan. But now, because of one quiet, overheard conversation and one unexpected presence, everything inside her felt unsteady like the story she thought she understood was slowly rewriting itself. Her plan hadn't failed. It had simply changed shape, and she had no idea where it would lead. Evelyn woke the next morning with a heaviness that felt different from the day before. Last night's overheard words were still echoing through her mind. She had replayed them again and again, her father's voice cracking with guilt. Daniel's calm encouragement, the way neither man knew she was listening. Everything she believed for years suddenly felt less solid. She wasn't sure if she was angry, confused, or something in between. She stepped out of her room and walked downstairs quietly, expecting the house to be silent. Instead, she heard the faint clinking of dishes. When she turned the corner, she saw Daniel alone in the kitchen, sleeves rolled up, hair slightly messy, making coffee as if he'd lived there forever. He glanced up when he heard her footsteps. "Morning," he said warmly. "Morning," she replied. Her voice softer than yesterday. Daniel poured her a cup without asking. And she didn't question how he knew she preferred it plain. She took the mug and sat at the table. For a moment, silence filled the room again. But it didn't feel heavy this time. "You heard everything last night," Daniel said. It wasn't a question. Evelyn looked down at her coffee. "Yeah." He pulled out a chair and sat across from her. "Do you want to talk about it?" "No," she answered quickly, then sighed. "I don't know." Daniel nodded, not pushing her. It's okay not to know. She appreciated that. Most people in her life tried to fix her feelings or tell her how she should think. Daniel never did. He was the kind of person who understood that emotions didn't always need solutions. Sometimes they just needed space. A few minutes later, her father entered the kitchen. He looked tired, almost uncertain, as if he wasn't sure whether he was allowed to smile at her. "Good morning," he said carefully. "Morning," Evelyn replied. Trying to keep her voice even, Richard poured himself coffee and joined them. For the first time, he didn't reach for his phone. He didn't mention work. He didn't rush. He sat with them, present in a way she couldn't remember seeing before. Daniel stood up. "I'm going to get some fresh air," he said, giving the two of them space. After he left, Richard cleared his throat, looking at his hands. "I know you heard," he said. "I didn't mean for you to, but I'm not sorry you did." Evelyn tensed. "Evie," he continued, "I have failed you more times than I can count. I don't have excuses. I can't undo it. But I want to fix whatever I can. If you'll let me." The sincerity in his voice caught her off guard. She wasn't used to her father showing vulnerability. He had always been confident, polished, in control. Seeing him like this made everything inside her twist. "I don't know what to say," she whispered. "You don't have to say anything yet," he replied. "Just stay. Give me a chance this week." She nodded slowly. She didn't trust her voice enough to speak. Later that morning, Evelyn went outside, needing air. Daniel was sitting on the porch steps again, sketching the lake in his notebook. He looked up when she joined him. "How's your head?" he asked. "Crowded," she said. "Everything feels confusing." "It's normal," he said, smiling gently. "Truth usually is." She watched him sketch for a moment. His hands moved with quiet confidence, tracing the outline of trees and water as if he saw beauty in details most people ignored. "Why do you draw?" she asked. "It helps me slow down," he replied. "It reminds me to look, not just see." She liked the way he said that. She liked many things about the way he spoke, the way he listened, the way he seemed to understand the emotions she hadn't even named. "Can I see?" she asked, nodding toward the notebook. He hesitated, then handed it to her. The sketch wasn't perfect, but it was full of feeling lines, soft, shading, careful, the lake shimmering under pencil strokes. She felt her chest warm unexpectedly. "You're really good," she said. Daniel chuckled. "I'm okay." "No," she insisted. "You're good." He looked at her in a way that made her stomach flutter, gentle, steady, as if he saw through everything she tried to hide. She looked away quickly, trying to calm the strange pull she felt. They spent the next hour walking by the lake. Daniel pointed out things she hadn't noticed: the small trail leading to a hidden clearing, the duck nests near the rocks, the way the sunlight changed the color of the water. He didn't talk too much, and he didn't try to entertain her. He simply existed beside her, and somehow that was enough. At one point she paused. "Last night, you said something to my father. You told him I wasn't here for perfection." Daniel looked at her calmly. "Because you're not. You make it sound simple." "It is simple," he said softly. "You care about him. You're hurt. You want honesty. That's all. She shook her head. It's not that easy. Didn't say it was easy, Daniel replied. Just true. That gentle tone again. The one that felt like a hand on her shoulder without touching her as they walked back to the house. She realized something she hadn't admitted even to herself. She trusted him. More than she trusted most people. Maybe more than she trusted her father at the moment. At lunchtime, the three of them sat together again. This time, it didn't feel forced. Her father tried to ask her about her work in Seattle. Evelyn answered with shorter sentences, but she didn't shut him out. Daniel kept the conversation balanced, stepping in only when things got tense. It felt strange but comforting, like he was helping build a bridge neither she nor her father knew how to construct alone. In the afternoon, her father had a short work meeting, something he couldn't avoid. Evelyn almost felt relief when he left the room. She wasn't ready for emotional intensity again. Daniel stayed behind, reading on the couch. After a few minutes, she joined him. What are you reading? She asked. A collection of travel essays, he said, showing her the cover. She tilted her head. You travel a lot? Used to, not so much now. I like staying in one place long enough to appreciate it. She studied his profile for a moment. The calmness, the warmth, the steadiness, it all felt so different from the fast, chaotic energy she associated with her father's world. She wondered how two men so different could be such close friends. What about you? Daniel asked. Do you travel much? Only for work, she said. But it doesn't feel exciting. Just stressful. Maybe you need a trip that's for you, he suggested. She smiled faintly. Maybe. As the day went on, she found herself talking to Daniel more openly. She told him small things she hadn't planned to share, how she used to come to the lake as a child. How she once thought this house was magical. How growing up changed everything. He listened without judgment, without trying to fix anything. You're easy to talk to, she admitted before thinking. Daniel looked surprised but pleased. I'm glad. There was something unwritten between them, a quiet understanding, a gentle pull neither of them named. It wasn't inappropriate. It wasn't dramatic. It was simply warm, steady, and calming in a way she didn't expect from someone who was supposed to be just her father's friend. When evening came, the sky turned soft gold. Daniel suggested they sit by the water. She agreed without hesitation. They watched the sun sink behind the trees, painting the lake in warm colors. For a long time, neither spoke. Finally, Daniel broke the silence. How do you feel now? After everything today? Tired, she admitted. But not angry. Not like before. That's good, he said. Maybe clarity will come with time. She hugged her knees to her chest. Why are you helping us so much? Daniel took a breath before answering. Because I've seen what distance can do to people. And because your father cares more than you know. And, he paused, choosing his words carefully. Because you deserve peace. The sincerity in his voice sent a small wave through her chest. She didn't know what to say. She didn't trust herself to speak without revealing something she wasn't ready to address. As they walked back toward the house, something shifted between them, a quiet tension, warm and indescribable. Not dramatic, not inappropriate, just something real. Something she didn't expect. Her father stepped out onto the porch when he saw them. You two disappeared for hours, he said. Trying to sound casual? Just walking, Daniel replied. Evelyn nodded, keeping her expression neutral, but inside. Her emotions were swirling: confusion, warmth, curiosity, and something she didn't want to name yet. That night, she lay in bed staring at the ceiling, unable to sleep. Everything was changing: her father's effort, her own feelings, the unexpected closeness with Daniel. She came here to punish someone, but now she wasn't sure what she wanted anymore. The plan she brought with her was fading, and something new, uncertain, and quietly powerful was taking its place. The morning of the third day came quietly, wrapped in soft light from the lake. Evelyn woke up feeling unsettled, like she was standing at the edge of two paths but didn't know which one to choose. The heaviness from yesterday stayed with her. mixed with something new aflutter she didn't want to name, something she felt around Daniel without meaning to. She got dressed and walked downstairs, where she found her father sitting with a folder in front of him but not reading it. He looked up immediately. "Good morning," he said, almost too quickly. "Morning." He hesitated. "Breakfast is ready. If you're hungry." Strange watching him try. He wasn't used to fragile moments. He wasn't used to waiting for someone else's emotional permission. That alone stirred something in her, a small thread of understanding she didn't expect to feel so soon. She sat at the table. They ate in silence, but unlike the earlier days, this silence felt softer, like they were both trying to find their way towards something fragile but important. When they finished, her father pushed the folder aside. "I meant what I said yesterday," he began. "I want to show you I'm here. Really here." Evelyn swallowed the rising emotion. "I'm trying to believe that," she whispered. "I know." He leaned back, tired but hopeful. "And I'm trying to give you a reason." Before either of them could say more, Daniel walked in from the porch. His presence shifted the atmosphere instantly, not because he changed the mood, but because he somehow steadied it. He greeted both of them, and when his eyes met Evelyn's, she felt the same quiet warmth she had felt the day before. They decided to spend the day together, Evelyn, her father, and Daniel, walking the forest trail behind the house. It wasn't a long trail, but it wasn't familiar either. The ground was soft, covered with fallen leaves. The air was cool enough to make them walk close together. Richard tried to talk more openly, asking about her life, her job, her worries. It wasn't perfect, but it was real. He wasn't trying to impress her. He wasn't hiding behind work or excuses. He was simply a man trying to reconnect with his daughter. Daniel stayed slightly behind them, letting father and daughter speak, stepping in only when the conversations grew heavy. He didn't force joy or ease. He simply supported the quiet moments with thoughtful presence. Halfway through the trail, they reached a small wooden bench facing the lake from the opposite side. The view was different here, wilder, untouched. Evelyn sat down slowly, her father beside her, Daniel standing a few steps away. Richard looked at the water. "I used to bring you here when you were 5, he said. "This was your favorite spot. You used to say the lake looked like a giant mirror." Evelyn blinked. She had forgotten that memory completely. But hearing it now in his voice unlocked old warmth. "I barely remember," she admitted. "I don't blame you," her father whispered. "I disappeared too much." There it was, again, his guilt, his honesty. She wasn't used to seeing him like this. It made her chest tighten. Daniel watched them quietly, giving them space, but staying close enough to help if emotions ran too deep. After a long pause, Evelyn spoke. "Why now? Why try after all these years?" Richard took a slow breath. "Because I finally realized I could lose you forever. And that scared me more than losing any deal, any company, any achievement." Evelyn's throat tightened. She looked away, blinking back tears she didn't want to show just then. Daniel took a few steps forward and placed a gentle hand on the back of her shoulder, not too close, not too familiar, just grounding. The gesture surprised her with its steadiness. She didn't pull away. Her father noticed the moment but didn't react with anything other than quiet understanding. Surprisingly, there was no discomfort in his expression, only a small, thoughtful look. After a few minutes, they continued walking. Evelyn found herself falling into step beside Daniel while her father walked a little ahead. A soft breeze drifted through the trees, rustling the leaves like whispers. "You okay?" Daniel asked quietly. "Trying," she said. "You're doing better than you think." She glanced up at him. "You always know what to say." He smiled a little. "I don't. I just say what feels honest." Honesty. A word she hadn't connected to anyone in years. When they returned to the house, her father excused himself to prepare lunch. Daniel and Evelyn stayed on the porch, watching the lake again. A moment later, Daniel spoke. "You know, this week changed more than just your relationship with him." Evelyn's heart skipped. "What do you mean?" He looked at her with a quiet intensity she hadn't seen before. "You changed too. You let yourself feel things you've been avoiding for a long time. She didn't know how to respond. She stared at the lake instead. Maybe. Daniel stepped closer, not too close, but enough that she could sense the warmth of him beside her. "You don't have to be afraid of it," he said softly. "Not every new feeling is dangerous." His words landed deeper than he realized. She felt her pulse quicken, not with fear, but with something warmer, something she couldn't ignore anymore. "Daniel," she whispered, not knowing how to finish the sentence. He shook his head gently. "You don't have to explain anything. I'm not asking you for anything. I'm just here. Whatever you feel or don't feel, it's okay." His kindness, his patience, the quiet way he cared overwhelmed her. She had never met someone so steady, so grounding, so quietly supportive. They stood there for a long time until her father called them for lunch. The meal was quiet but warm, filled with small conversations that flowed better than before. After eating, her father suggested a boat ride on the lake. The idea surprised her. He wasn't someone who planned gentle activities, but she agreed. They took out the small wooden boat. It's the one she used to ride in as a kid. Her father rowed while she and Daniel sat facing the water. The lake shimmered under the afternoon sun, reflecting soft waves around them. Halfway across, the boat drifted gently. Richard paused, rowing, letting the boat float. "I want to say something," he began. His voice sounded steadier than before. Evelyn looked at him. "I don't expect forgiveness right away," he said, "but I'm asking for a chance to earn it. I want to be part of your life again. Might because I'm your father, but because I miss you as a person." Evelyn felt a tear escape. She wiped it quickly, embarrassed, but neither man reacted with awkwardness. Daniel reached over, sliding his hand near hers, not touching, close enough to let her know he was there if she needed support. She took a shaky breath. "I don't know how to start," she whispered. Her father gave a soft smile. "Then start small. We don't have to fix everything today. We can just try." She nodded. For the first time, the anger she'd carried for years loosened, just a little. When they returned to the house, the sky was turning golden. Daniel stayed behind to pull the boat onto shore, while Evelyn walked a bit ahead. Her father touched her arm gently. "Eve," he said softly, "before you go inside, I want you to know something." She looked at him, waiting. "Daniel," he said with a warm, careful tone, "has been my closest friend for years. He's a good man, one of the best I know." Her heart stopped for a second. "I see the way he looks at you," her father added. "It's gentle, careful, respectful. You deserve people like that in your life." Evelyn's breath caught. "Dad," he gave a small smile, "whatever happens between you two, whether nothing happens or something does, you have my blessing. And you don't owe me an explanation." Those words stunned her more than any apology. They weren't dramatic. They weren't heavy. They were simply honest and freeing. Later that evening, Evelyn stepped outside again. Daniel stood by the water, skipping stones. She walked toward him slowly. He turned, surprised but smiling softly. "Hey," he said. She took a breath, feeling everything inside her steady and unsteady all at once. "Thank you," she whispered. "For what?" "For being here. For understanding. For—" She searched for the right words. "For becoming part of this story, even though I didn't expect it." Daniel's expression softened. "Some stories change on their own," he said. "We just follow where they lead." She stood beside him, the evening wind brushing past them, the sky turning shades of pink and gold. They said nothing more, but the silence was warm, full of unspoken promise. Evelyn had come here to punish her father. But instead, she found healing. She found truth. And she found someone who saw her heart before she even understood it herself. Her plan had changed. Her life had changed. And as she stood by the lake with Daniel, the unexpected twist she never planned, she realized something. Sometimes the best endings are the ones we never saw coming.